When you lose everything the world told you to chase, status, validation, comfort, control, what's left is not emptiness. It's space. Space for truth. Space for power. Space for you. Not the constructed self, not the version that plays well with others, not the mask that kept you safe, but the real you, the one who remembers ancient things, the one who doesn't just believe in purpose, but embodies it. See, the second half of this journey isn't about what you lose. It's about what you gain when you're finally willing to let it all burn. And what you gain first is vision. Not surface-level sight, not positive thinking or affirmations. I'm talking about spiritual vision, the kind that cuts through illusion like a sword. You start to see the truth behind people's words. You see the energetic patterns in systems, in families, in yourself. You see where power is leaking, where truth is being buried, where light is being faked. And that kind of vision, it's not convenient. It will make you more sensitive, but it will also make you dangerous because you're no longer programmable. You can't be manipulated. You can't be gaslit. You see too much. Then comes sovereignty, the kind of self-possession that makes people uncomfortable. Why? Because we live in a world that thrives on dependency. People want gurus, saviors, external sources of authority. But when you reclaim your own soul, you stop outsourcing your power. You stop asking, "Is this okay?" and start saying, "This is what's true for me." Sovereignty doesn't mean isolation. It means alignment. You still listen. You still learn. But you filter everything through your own knowing. And that knowing, it's the voice that has guided you through every shadow, every storm, every collapse. It has never left you. You just finally started listening. Next, you gain clarity of expression. You stop speaking to be accepted. You start speaking to transmit truth. Your words become weapons of awakening, not because they're aggressive, but because they're alive. Your voice carries your frequency, and your frequency carries your mission. This is why the world reacts differently when you speak. Some people will feel threatened. Others will feel seen for the first time in their life. That's your medicine. That's your magic. And that's why you had to be silenced for so long, because now when you open your mouth, you dismantle illusions without even trying. And then there's peace. Not the peace that comes from everything going your way. I'm talking about the peace that comes from letting go of needing it to. The peace of knowing that even your worst day is sacred, that even your confusion is holy, that even your breakdown is a message. You stop resisting what is. You stop negotiating with your soul. You stop fighting the current, and you start floating in alignment. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop fearing your feelings. You can cry without losing yourself. You can rage without becoming destructive. You can grieve and still remain whole. That's what real peace feels like. Eventually, you gain magnetism, not performative charisma, not manufactured confidence. I'm talking about the kind of magnetism that comes from being fully integrated. When your shadow and your light are no longer at war, your energy field stabilizes. And when that happens, people feel you, not your words. You, your essence. They don't know why they're drawn to you. They just are, because you carry something ancient, something encoded, something real. And real is rare. In a world built on illusion, your authenticity becomes alchemy. But the most sacred gain of all? Access. Access to realms most will never touch. Access to wisdom that's not in books. Access to dimensions that exist between the layers of sound and silence. Access to your own divinity. Because when you stop running from your darkness, you find the door to your godhood. That's the paradox. Your power was never in your light alone. It was in the integration of your whole being. And once you access that, you stop worshiping gods and start embodying the divine. Not from ego, from remembrance. And here's the twist. Once you reach this level, you don't feel superior. You feel responsible. Because you realize your awakening wasn't just for you. It was for the grid, for the collective, for the ones still lost in the illusion. And that's when your path shifts from seeker to transmitter, from initiate to embodied template. You become the example, not by trying, just by being. Every choice, every breath, every moment becomes a living prayer, a silent revolution, a ripple in the matrix. But don't mistake this for perfection. You will still feel pain. You will still face tests. The difference is, you won't collapse. You won't self-abandon. You won't betray your knowing. And when you do fall, for you will, you'll rise faster, cleaner, wiser. Because now you know the way back to yourself. That's the true reward of walking this path. You become your own home. So let me ask you something radical. What would your life look like if you stopped resisting your own power? If you stopped apologizing for your clarity? If you stopped editing your truth for people who were never meant to carry it? Because that's the final gain, permission, not from the world, from your soul, permission to be all of you, permission to take up space, permission to lead without guilt, permission to disrupt without shame, permission to exist at full capacity. And that permission, that's the key to unlocking the next level, not just of your path, but of the collective evolution. You were never here to be palatable. You were here to be a portal. And now that you've paid the price, it's time to walk in what you've earned. You were never meant to fit into the world as it is, because you were born to help rebuild it. That's why your life has never followed a straight line. That's why your path has been full of detours, initiations, losses, and revelations. You weren't failing, you were forging. Every collapse was cosmic architecture. Every heartbreak was spiritual engineering. Every dark night was a sacred blueprint being downloaded into your soul. And now you carry the codes of the new earth. Not in theory, not in abstraction, but in your embodied experience. You are the walking evidence that transformation is not only possible, it's inevitable when shadow and soul unite. But here's the final truth that very few will ever understand. The shadow you carry is not your weakness. It's your assignment. It's the very reason you were sent here. Because this earth doesn't evolve through light alone. It evolves through integration. And integration requires someone who can hold the paradox. Someone who can carry both the sword and the rose. Someone who can speak truth without violence and offer love without becoming a doormat. Someone who can walk into the darkest psychic rooms and not lose themselves. That's you. That's us. Not saviors, not saints, but systems of frequency encoded with the ability to unravel the old and transmit the new. And that's what makes us unshakable. Not because we're untouchable, but because we've already touched the void and survived it. When others are afraid of losing everything, we've already buried versions of ourselves 10 times over. When people are afraid of being alone, we've sat in silence until it became a sanctuary. When the world panics, we anchor. Because we don't lead from theory, we lead from initiation. And leadership in this new paradigm doesn't mean controlling others. It means embodying truth so loudly that it wakes others up without a single word. So, is it worth it? Yes, but not in the way most people think. It's not worth it because you get applause. You won't. It's not worth it because people will finally understand you. Many never will. It's not worth it because life gets easier. It probably won't. It's worth it because you become unbreakable. You become undeniable. You become unmistakably yourself. And there is no greater wealth than that. There is no higher victory than remembering your soul and actually living from it in a world that profits from your forgetting. And here's the part that may surprise you. The deeper you go into this work, the more joy you feel. Not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. You feel joy because you've made peace with the mess. You've made peace with the mystery. You've stopped waiting for the external to align before you allow yourself to breathe. That's the ultimate power. To hold the storm in your chest and still smile. To know the world is on fire and still dance. To weep and laugh in the same breath. That paradox? That's where God lives. And now, that paradox lives in you. So what now? You live fully, fiercely, freely. You stop shrinking. You stop doubting. You stop pretending you don't know who you are. And when the fear comes, and it will, you look it dead in the eye and say, I've already been to hell. I built a home there. And now I carry heaven in my hands. Because this is what we're here for. Not to ascend away from earth, but to descend into her and recode her with our presence. We're not here to escape. We're here to embody. We're not here to preach. We're here to transmit. Every step we take in truth builds a bridge between dimensions. And if you ever forget why you started, remember this: you are not alone. We walk beside you in the quiet, in the dark, in the unseen realms where real warriors are born. We don't wear armor. We are the armor. We don't seek the light. We are the integration of it. And every day you choose to wake up, stay conscious, stay true. You don't just heal yourself. You heal the world through the ripple of your resonance. You are the living answer to a question the world hasn't even learned to ask yet. So yes, being a dark chosen one is worth it. Not because of what it brings you, but because of who it reveals you already are. And that is everything. Let's go even deeper. Because there's a layer of this path that no one talks about, not in books, not in temples, not even in most spiritual circles. It's the silent war inside of you. The war between the version of you that longs for peace and the version of you that was sent to disturb everything that isn't real. This is what it actually means to be a dark chosen one. Not someone who walks around in darkness for the aesthetic, but someone who was initiated into the depths so that they could anchor truth in a world that runs on illusion. You weren't set here to be liked. You were set here to become the correction to a collective forgetting. The sacrifices, they're real, but so are the subtle gains. The kind of gains that can't be posted on Instagram or explained in a single quote. Things like the ability to hold silent space for someone's breakdown without needing to fix them. The ability to feel someone's lie and still choose love. The ability to walk into chaos and emit coherence without saying a word. These are the skills of the ancient soul. These are the qualities of the ones who shape timelines, not with force, but with frequency. You don't force your way through the world anymore. You bend reality by becoming more aligned with your sacred code. And that code isn't written in words. It's written in energy. It's written in the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you choose silence over noise, embodiment over reaction, alignment over validation. Most people won't notice what's changed in you. but they'll feel it. They'll feel themselves become more honest in your presence. More uncomfortable maybe, but also more awake. That's the paradox of being a dark chosen one. You both disrupt and heal at the same time. You shatter illusions and offer sanctuary in the exact same breath. And most of the time, you do it without even realizing it. But this kind of presence comes at a cost, because to carry that kind of clarity, you must constantly die to your own ego. You must let go again and again of the need to be understood, admired, or even appreciated. You must be willing to speak truth that disturbs your own comfort. You must be willing to sit in the discomfort of knowing you're right, not from arrogance, but from deep alignment, and still not needing to convince anyone. This is where the silence becomes sacred, where solitude becomes strategy, where invisibility becomes your greatest protection. And yes, it gets lonely. Not because you're unloved, but because your frequency no longer fits into most rooms. You become too much for the shallow and too real for the performative. And yet you can't water yourself down anymore. You've tasted the depth. You've become the depth. And once you've lived in that space, anything less than full soul expression feels suffocating. That's why the old life had to collapse. That's why the old relationships couldn't stay. The soul was calling for expansion, and anything that couldn't grow with you had to fall. But here's the deeper reward. You become a living portal, a walking threshold. When people meet you, they don't just meet a person, they meet a mirror, a gate, a frequency field that activates something ancient in them. Some will run, some will awaken. Others will try to project their unhealed fear onto you. But none will remain unchanged. You didn't ask for this role. You were built for it. And now you must accept the responsibility, not out of duty, but out of devotion. Devotion to truth. Devotion to love. Devotion to the higher timeline that your soul signed up to protect. And with that responsibility comes a kind of grace most will never know. The grace of being empty enough to be filled by the divine. The grace of walking into every moment with no script, no agenda, no mask. The grace of trusting your intuition more than the world's logic. The grace of becoming so attuned to the sacred that even your pain becomes prayer. This is the grace of the masters. Not the ones who sit on stages, but the ones who walk barefoot through the fire, smiling with eyes that have seen the end and still choose to stay. But here's the deeper reward. You become a living portal, a walking threshold. When people meet you, they don't just meet a person, they meet a mirror, a gate, a frequency field that activates something ancient in them. Some will run, some will awaken. Others will try to project their unhealed fear onto you. But none will remain unchanged. You didn't ask for this role. You were built for it. And now you must accept the responsibility, not out of duty, but out of devotion. Devotion to truth. Devotion to love. Devotion to the higher timeline that your soul signed up to protect. And with that responsibility comes a kind of grace most will never know. The grace of being empty enough to be filled by the divine. The grace of walking into every moment with no script, no agenda, no mask. The grace of trusting your intuition more than the world's logic. The grace of becoming so attuned to the sacred that even your pain becomes prayer. This is the grace of the masters. Not the ones who sit on stages, but the ones who walk barefoot through the fire, smiling with eyes that have seen the end and still choose to stay. Now, let's bring this all the way home, because there's one last layer that completes the journey, and it's not the most glamorous, it's the ego death. Not the poetic, metaphorical kind. the kind that strips you down to your spiritual bones, the kind that doesn't just crack your identity, but dismantles your entire sense of who you thought you were. It's not just painful, it's humiliating. You watch everything you built, everything you wanted to be seen as, everything you thought would make you worthy, fall apart. And yet, as it all falls, something deeper rises. The soul. Not the soul as an idea, but the soul is the only thing left standing when all illusion has burned away. That's when you meet your real power. Not the power of control, influence, or charisma, but the power of presence. The power that doesn't speak unless it's necessary. The power that doesn't prove, doesn't chase, doesn't persuade. The power that simply is. And when you stand in that space, you realize you were never meant to become anything. You were only ever meant to remember what you already are. That's why the journey was so brutal. Because it had to strip away everything that isn't you, not to punish you, but to reveal you. And here's the paradox. Once you finally become who you really are, you realize you don't need anything outside of you to confirm it. Not relationships, not applause, not even purpose in the way the world defines it. You become still, not stuck still, anchored, rooted. You no longer chase destiny, you embody it. You no longer seek permission, you radiate authority. And from that stillness, everything begins to align. Not because you're manifesting from desire, but because you're magnetizing from truth. This is where the magic begins. Not the magic of spells or rituals, but the magic of resonance. You speak and doors open. You move and systems respond. You breathe and the room shifts. Why? Because you're no longer fragmented. You are whole. And wholeness is the most disruptive force in a broken world. People won't always understand what they're feeling around you, but they'll feel it. Some will call it intensity. Others will call it mystery. But the ones who are ready, they'll call it freedom, because your presence gives them permission to remember their own. It's in this stage that you begin to see the full picture. The sacrifices weren't just personal, they were generational. You were cleaning bloodlines, breaking ancestral chains, repairing karmic loops. And you did it not just through rituals, but through embodied courage. Every time you chose truth over comfort, every time you felt the fear and moved anyway, every time you stood in your authenticity, even when it cost you everything, you were rewriting scripts that had been running for centuries. You weren't just healing yourself, you were recalibrating the future. And now you carry that future, not as a burden, but as a blessing. You walk as a lighthouse, not because you shine brighter than others, but because you remembered your light when everything went dark. And now, you don't need to convince anyone to see it. You just live it. You just are it. And in that embodiment, you become the living answer to the question this entire journey has been asking. Can you still love when no one claps? Can you still serve when no one sees? Can you still be true when no one understands?